Today we're talking about StoryBrand and what the fuss is all about. What up, nerds? Welcome back to the Brand Nerd Podcast. Today we're talking about StoryBrand and what is the fuss all about. You hear me talk about it, and I know that for some people it's in one ear and out the other. So today I just want to dig in a little bit and really explain why this is so important for anyone who works in marketing or owns a business or is thinking about starting a business. This is really important to know. People love a good storyteller. We all have that one friend who can weave a great tale, taking ordinary, everyday events and turning it into something that is captivating. And, they never let the truth get in the way of a good story, right? We know those people. And who doesn't love a good movie where an ordinary hero overcomes impossible odds to win the day and return home victorious? Some of the greatest examples of these types of stories would be The Lion King and The Hobbit and Star Wars and The Wizard of Oz and Harry Potter. These are massive successes, both as books and as films. What if I told you that there was an underlying formula that is the secret to why we connect with these stories so passionately? And what if I was to tell you that big brands and companies know about this formula and actually use it in their sales and marketing and commercials and advertising to compel you to interact with their products, to enter into the story that they're telling? Well, the StoryBrand Framework makes these known in a way that anybody can understand. I still remember the first time that I heard Donald Miller lay out the 7 parts of his marketing framework. And at the time I was working in marketing, I had a degree in marketing, and I was just like, yes, this is exactly what we need. This takes time-honored principles and puts it into a framework that makes sense. I was immediately hooked and took it to my employer at the time and said, this is what we need to do. And ever since that day, I've been a StoryBrand fan. And for the past 6 years, I've been certified in this framework, and I believe in it. I've seen it work time and time again for countless companies. You can find this framework in Building a Story Brand, How to Clarify Your Message So Customers Will Listen by Donald Miller. You can also find it on his Business Made Simple platform. They actually have a course that you can take. I think it's somewhere around like $250 a year, something like that, to join. If you want to see those resources and a few others, you can actually go to thebrandnerd.com/storybrand-certified-guide. And that's the page on my website that has all of my StoryBrand certified materials, but also has a section specifically about StoryBrand resources where you can link through to these resources. But here is the number one principle that you need to understand about the StoryBrand framework and how it relates to the stories that I mentioned up top about The Lion King and The Hobbit and The Wizard of Oz. If you don't hear anything else, I want you to hear this. The customer is the hero of your story, not your brand. The customer is the hero of your story, not your brand. People aren't going around looking for heroes to save them. They're looking for a guide, someone that comes along and helps them win the day. They are the hero in their own story. As they're the ones behind their eyes. They're the ones with the first person point of view. They are the hero in the story that they are living. And they're not looking for another hero. They're looking for a guide, for a guru, for a mentor. Whatever that word is, that's what they're looking for. So if you go back and think about the stories we talked about, I want you to think about the heroes in those stories. So in The Lion King, it's Simba. In The Hobbit, it's Bilbo. In Star Wars, it's Luke Skywalker. In Wizard of Oz, it's Dorothy. And in Harry Potter, it's, Harry Potter. Those are the heroes in the story. And when you watch those movies, those are the people that you are most likely to identify with and follow along with. And in the same way, you're the hero of your life and your customers are the hero of their life. So what you want to do is actually position yourself as the guide. In Lion King, this is Mufasa, his father who passes away and then comes to him in a storm cloud and calls him to go back and take the Pride Land. In Star Wars, Luke Skywalker is a humble farm boy who gets called out by Obi-Wan Kenobi to go and join the Rebel Alliance and take on Darth Vader and the Death Star. In The Wizard of Oz, Dorothy meets Glinda, who is her guide. And in Harry Potter, he meets Dumbledore, who is his guide. I want to lay out the StoryBrand framework just so that you understand how this works, both in a storytelling sense, but in a marketing sense, and how you can use this in your marketing to connect with people using storytelling principles. The StoryBrand framework, the first part of this is a hero, or a character, sometimes it's called. And they want something. The principle here is that when you agitate your customer's desire, what they want, they enter into the story that you're telling. So if somebody wants your products and services and the features and the benefits, the way that you offer them, when you agitate that desire, they enter into the story you're telling. And the second part is a problem. So the hero has a problem in the story, right? Because if they didn't have a problem, it wouldn't be much of a story, and they wouldn't have any reason to be there in the first place. They can't solve this problem on their own, which is why they ultimately need a guide. But the principle here for your business is that you need to talk about your customers' problems. So often in business, we get caught up in talking about all the things that make us great, but that's putting ourselves in the hero role. When we talk about our customers' problems and offer solutions to those problems from the perspective of the guide, that is when we really make a solid connection. So the third step is they meet a guide. This is an authoritative figure, somebody who's been there before, who knows how to help, who has a plan, but they're also empathetic to the character. They understand the problems that they're going through. That's what makes a well-rounded guide. So that's what you want to be to your customers. You want to be a equal dose of empathy and authority. You want to understand, but you also want to demonstrate that you have what it takes to help them succeed. The fourth step is when the guide gives our hero a plan, a step-by-step way to move forward, showing them how to proceed. In Star Wars, it's use the Force. The Wizard of Oz, it's follow the yellow brick road. These are the plans to win the day. Step 5 of the StoryBrand framework is the call to action. Your hero in your favorite stories is called out. Whether that's take back the Pride Lands with Simba, with Mufasa coming to him in the storm cloud, and Rafiki bashing him over the head with his stick. In Harry Potter, he's called to become a wizard. He's accepted into Hogwarts to take on his mantle, his inheritance as a wizard. People, in the same way, need to be called or challenged to do business. It's not enough to say, contact us or learn more. We need to say, buy now, or schedule a call, or call right now. These are how you actually get people to take action, by making it super clear and not being passive. Step 6 is that our story can result in success. We want to paint a picture of what success looks like on the other end of this journey for our hero. In Star Wars, it's blowing up the Death Star and defeating the evil empire. In The Wizard of Oz, it's defeating the Wicked Witch and finally going back home. By painting a picture of success for our customers, they start to build even more desire about the story that we're telling. And of course, every story can end not only in success, but it can end in failure. So the 7th step or part of the StoryBrand framework is failure. This journey could result in failure. Your customers, if they don't choose to work with you, there's a cost to that. Otherwise, there's no reason to do business with you. So we need to sprinkle this into our message as well. In The Lion King, what if Scar just is left to his own devices to ruin the Pride Land and the lions starve and the hyenas take over? In The Hobbit, what if Bilbo doesn't go on that adventure and the dwarves can't reclaim their homeland? And as a side note, he doesn't discover the One Ring, which sets up the greatest story of all time, in my opinion, Lord of the Rings. So now that we've reviewed the 7 parts of the StoryBrand framework, a hero, with a problem, who meets a guide, who hands them a plan, and calls them to action that results in success or failure. Now that we've reviewed that, I hope you're starting to realize what the fuss is all about. But just in case you're still wondering about how does this apply in real life, I pulled out some real life examples of people using elements of this in their marketing, and I think most of these you'll probably know. The first one is Nike with their Just Do It campaign. This has been around for a long time, where they take big superstar athletes, position them as the success, and then put it against your ordinary athletes lacing up in Nikes. And the idea is that if you wear Nike shoes, you might be able to slam dunk a basketball like Michael Jordan. Or if you use Nike apparel, you're going to look a lot like Tiger Woods when you're out on the golf course. Apple had a campaign back in the 80s called Think Different, and they featured a bunch of revolutionary creatives and mathematicians. I know Einstein was involved on that. And the whole point of the campaign was inviting you this story where if you use an Apple computer, you have the power to become a creative genius. Creative people use Apple. And that message, that idea still exists today. Another famous example is Coca-Cola with their Open Happiness campaign. A magical elixir. Upon opening it, you get joy and companionship, and everybody's smiling and doing fun things. This is literally carbonated brown sugar water, but it's not, right? It's a magical experience because there's a story related to it. Another more current example is Dove with their Real Beauty campaign. This shows the inner journey that people go through to self-acceptance and to battling societal norm. It takes everyday people and puts the spotlight on them and highlights their flaws as beauty and switches what might be perceived as flaws into something beautiful. Airbnb has a campaign called Belong Anywhere, where Airbnb is the guide inviting you on an adventure. Stay anywhere, learn new things, see new things, experience seclusion or experience adventure or experience something you've never done before. The last example I have is Rocket Mortgage. They launched this campaign, Press Button, Get Mortgage, during the Super Bowl several years ago. And this is one of the best plans of all time. They're the guide handing you a 2-step plan. Typically, a plan is 3 steps, maybe 4, but this is a 2-step plan. Press button, get mortgage. It doesn't get any easier. And their whole story is about making it easy to get your new home without the fuss of dealing with, banks that can be overwhelming and ask for so much information and all this stuff. And honestly, probably they ask for all the same information, but they make it seem so easy and invite you into this story. So that's what the fuss is all about when it comes to StoryBrand. If you're just now getting it, you're a little late to the party, but it is far from too late. Stories have existed for as long as the spoken word has existed. So it's not too late to start using stories in your company and your brand. And hey, guess what? StoryBrand is really simple, but that doesn't mean that it's easy, but you don't have to do it alone. I am StoryBrand certified, and I can be your guide to StoryBrand clarity. It's why I created a simple product called the StoryBrand Sprint, where you book a call with me, and in one session, we clarify your message, saving you weeks and weeks of painstaking effort to try to do it by yourself. And at the end of the call, you'll actually know what you need to do next, as opposed to wondering if you got it right when you do it alone. This is especially valuable to fast-moving, high-achieving business leaders who don't want to spin their wheels on this project, that want to get to results fast. So take a shortcut to StoryBrand success and book an intro call with me at storybrandsprint.com. And yes, I just use storytelling principles on you to paint you as the hero and me as the guide. I tried to make it as blatant as possible so that you could see it. But that doesn't change the fact that if you go to StoryBrand.com. I can help you unleash the power of storytelling for your product, service, company, personal brand, whatever it might be. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Brand Nerd Podcast. If you don't mind, like this video, share it with a friend, and maybe most importantly, comment down below with any questions you might have so that we can communicate with you. And I'm sure there's somebody else that has the same question. So go ahead and do that right now. Until next time, stay curious.